All right, welcome to our coaching call for the Practice Accelerator. Tonight, we're going to talk about how to leverage Facebook groups to grow your practice. And I'm your host, Uli Iserloh. So I'm excited about this topic because obviously social media is in the focal point of everyone's attention. And to just set the scene, let's talk about the current social media landscape. Certainly over the past year, as many of you can attest, is that COVID has really pushed small businesses and health practitioners, brick and mortar practices to go more online. And that's obviously on one hand just on in terms of organic social media, but what we have also seen is that there's a concomitant rise in first-time Facebook advertisers. So if you look at the number of small businesses advertising at the end of 2019 and compare this to the end of 2020, you see a massive increase, way more than in past years. And so that has obviously created more competition for eyeballs on Facebook. Also, privacy and First Amendment issues have soured many consumers on big tech, especially sort of, I would say, as part of the election season and the last 3-4 months. So there's issues to navigate. What happens if consumers don't want to be on Facebook, if people are concerned about privacy, about free speech? How are all these things playing into somebody using organic social media? As always, each year we see a declining level of organic social media. So whatever you're posting to your organic social media accounts, less and less people are actually seeing it. Pair this with email deliverability, that's more challenging as too. So more people are sending out emails, and yet more emails ending up in spam than ever before. And then finally, COVID certainly has led to a shift where consumers are now being way more isolated than ever. The family unit is probably smaller, and there's an increased need for connection and community online. And so this is sort of the inputs that sort of emerged in 2020, and that really make up the landscape for 2021. Now, what that really means is that we have to figure out how to serve our audiences in different ways or in ways that they want to be served. And from Facebook's perspective, they're doubling down on groups. They want everyone to start a Facebook group. They feel that these smaller communities are much more engaged, much more meaningful to consumers. And that's why Facebook really encourages Facebook groups above everything else, above Facebook pages and many other features. And so, James Maskell, wrote The Community Cure last year, was published in January 2020. And, he really laid out why community is the cure for so many things, both from a medical perspective, but also from the sense of combating isolation and, fostering community. And that is an aspect that is maybe somewhat missing from a one-on-one social media outreach where you're just posting content to organic social media profiles, to Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter, but it's inherently a one-on-one conversation. Whereas when you shift to groups, then obviously you have many more people chiming in, and you can curate a very specific audience that's tailor-made for your practice. So, the short end here is that groups provide many advantages, including peer-to-peer support, community aspects. You have better engagement and reach because people see groups as a safe space on Facebook. Now, this may sound like an oxymoron, but I think if you just compare to the general Facebook landscape where anything goes, at least when people join specific Facebook groups, the group owner is creating a safe space, and they enforce their rules and their vision of what that community should look like. And again, if you are running Facebook groups, then it's your house. You decide what goes. You decide who can be part of the community, and you want to make everyone feel welcome. It should be a positive environment, etc. Now, for all of you that are maybe chafing at the notion of, I'm not so sure about Facebook, I really don't agree with their corporate policies. Well, good news is that other group platforms are emerging beyond Facebook. There's, talk of, platforms like Thinkific building an online course platform that has a community aspects to it. There's other platforms like Mighty Networks, etc. So all of this is to say that no matter what you do in 2021, it's not necessarily about specifically Facebook groups, even though that's what we're talking about tonight, but it's about embracing the idea that communities are critical in building a tribe around your practice, people that see you as their leader, as their expert. And again, doesn't matter what the technology platform is, if you have a vibrant tribe, they will follow you wherever you want to go. Now, I'll give you a sort of caveat here that many people have tried to launch communities on platforms other than Facebook. It could be private WordPress-based communities built on BuddyPress. It could be other channels. I myself have tried this over the past 5 years, and what everyone realizes is that when you're asking people to join a community, if you make them join, if you make them also learn a new platform and find their way around it, it's just too much effort for a lot of people to follow you to a new platform, to show up every day, and to learn what that platform is all about. And so this is why invariably people have always come back to Facebook groups as their default standard. This is where everyone is. This is what everyone knows. And this is where people already hang out. So you not have to create a new habit of people joining your group elsewhere. Now, obviously, if you have a paid program and you have a group environment that goes with it, then it's a little bit easier to ask people to join your group on other platforms. So for instance, if you're running a metabolic reset program and people pay money for this, you can say that we have a group chat app and that's where we're communicating, we're meeting and practice better. And at that point, people will follow you along because they have paid for it and they want the benefits of that added support. So what we're going to talk about in the next 60 minutes is really a couple areas. Number one, how to effectively set up or revitalize your group. If you already have a group, you maybe started a group 4 years ago, but you haven't really done anything with it. What do you do? How do you revitalize it? Next, we're going to talk about what to post in a group to create engagement and how to prime members to ultimately become patients. So that's the aspect. Once you have created a group, then it's all about, okay, what do I post in the group? How do I create engagement? What does it look and feel like? Next, obviously, we're going to talk about how to promote and fill the group. And I put this as the third point here because really you first have to have some baseline content in the group, or you have to have a game plan before you invite people into the group. Because if you don't have a structure thought out, you don't know what the game plan is, then it's very difficult to keep running the group. And then once you know how to fill the group, then we're going to talk a little bit about how to convert members into patients. How does this look like? What things can you do? And then we're finishing up with what practitioners like you need to know to stay in compliance with the health-centric groups. And so there's a couple additional rules that some of them are unspoken or not really very well fleshed out. That's very unique to health-centric groups as opposed to any other group on Facebook. So when you're creating the group, you're going to groups, and then by default, when you type in Facebook groups, it allows you to start a group. So click here on create a new group, enter the group name, set the privacy to public to private, privacy set to private, and then visibility to visible. And then obviously you go about your way to set this up. So just to give you an example of what this looks like with my group, this is the image that I uploaded. It tells you exactly what this group is about. You also notice that the URL is actually not matching the title here because digital marketing for health professionals is a way too long group name. I direct people to my free guides. You can see here that I have group rules set up. Actually don't have it. I deleted it earlier. And then I have membership questions set up. So when people request to join the group, what we're going to do here is we're asking them, want me to email you my patient acquisition roadmap guide, and then enter your email here without any characters. So in your case, if you have a lead magnet, you have something that you want to send people, this is how people part with their email address. And this is how you build your email list based on at the same time when you're building your Facebook group. The next question is maybe something about them. What prompted you to join the group? So again, keep this question simple so people don't have to think too much about it. You know, when you say, what is your biggest health concern? They may not want to share this with you, and then people will not answer the question. So think about questions that are easy to answer. And for me, I want to know, how did you find this group? I want to know if people say, I saw this from a Facebook ad, I saw this from your email list, I saw this from a webinar. This way I know how I can enhance my marketing of my group because I know where people are coming from. If everyone says, so-and-so referred me to your group, then I know, okay, I need to really work more with that person to work on this. So again, that's what you have with groups. As you go through the admin tools, there's other things that you can put together. You can put moderation alerts in there. So what you can do is you can add keywords to this. If somebody types in a comment bullshit, you may want to be alerted that somebody is talking about this. So, you know, put all the keywords where people call this a scam or something negative, and put this in here so that you get alerted when discussions happening in their group around certain keywords. And again, there's also, you know, post moderation that you can have something where, you know, certain posts that have certain keywords don't even get posted live and go from there. So a lot of what you do with the group setup is just go through these various options here and see what's involved. You know, you can look here at the administrators who can do this. Again, you know, but the keys are really to set this up so that you have the basic group running. And as I said here, when you go to the group home, that you have the banner image in place, you have a profile image, obviously that's for you, you have a compelling about description, you have a welcome post when people coming into the group, and you have moderators and post moderation set up. So that's sort of the part about setting up a group. So let me just switch here back to our presentation and just recap that what we did is you start here at facebook.com/groups/feed. You choose your name, privacy, and visibility setting. Then you complete your banner image, profile image, about section, membership question, privacy and visibility settings as needed, other settings, and your group rules. You post a welcome post so that you have contents in the group, and ultimately you want to define the pretty URL. And so the place where you are changing your group URL is again here under settings, so under the group settings, and here you have all the settings available, and you can then see here's the web address. So when you click in the web address, you can now define what is the group name called, facebook.com/groups, and then what's the word. And so you want to be not make this too long, because if you have webinars or you have to put this on slide decks or on different materials, if the name is too long, then it becomes really unwieldy, and go from there. If you have an existing group, you can always go in and change the, you know, the web address if you want. If you don't have a lot of followers, you can probably optimize this. And then if you want to change the name of a group, you just go here on name and description and then just change the name here. And when you change this here, then you can, then the new group name will appear on your Facebook group. So it's very easy. You're not losing the followers that you already have amassed, and then you go from there. All right, so the next part that we want to go into in our presentation here is really or I said the last thing here is group funnels. So one of the things is when you approve new membership requests that come into your Facebook group, you have to manually approve them. And so I want to show you what this looks like for my group, and then show you a tool that can automate this so that whenever somebody enters their email into the membership questions, that it pushes it automatically into your email autoresponder, let's say ActiveCampaign. And so to make that work, what you have to do here, in this admin section, you have a membership request. So you can see here, typically what I look here is when did they join, Facebook 13 years ago. Okay, so this is probably a legit person. When I look at what are the groups that we have in common, I can see, okay, they're part of the Evolution of Medicine Practitioner community and Perfect Practice Live. So this is likely a health provider, and I can say, okay, I'm going to approve them for my group. Again, here you can see, here is now Virginia. She is more recent, so I may want to sort of check out her profile and just see, who is she? Is she a health practitioner? Is she posting anything? This one looks like only one pictures, nothing to see. So this could be a fake profile. And again, I don't really know if she is a health practitioner. So I may sort of say here in my membership approval that, she's not legit. But on the other hand, here she has an email address with her first name and Nutrition for Wellness. So I could then open up her profile and just say, is Nutrition for Wellness a real business? Is a legit website? Okay, here's her face. So she is indeed a practitioner. She's just not that often on Facebook. So again, in this case, I would now approve her as well and get her in my database. Now, every time somebody gives you an email address, the moment you approve it, that request disappears. So now I can go back and figure out what was that email address that Virginia used. So either you have to copy it before you approve it and put it into a spreadsheet, or there's a software that runs on Chrome that's called Group Funnels. And with one click, you can push the information from that form into your ActiveCampaign, into your um, email CRM, and that way it's a lot easier to approve a lot of people. So if you have only one person a day, yes, you can probably do this manually, but by the time you have hundreds of people requesting to join your group, it gets really tiring very quickly. And so you want to have technology like this in play so that um, it doesn't take too long to build your email list with the emails that you collect. All right, so next section in our presentation is really part 2. How do you run your Facebook group? And the first thing I want to go over is content to post. And so part of this is really you have to think of your Facebook group maybe in very similar ways as your Facebook page profile, that you have a schedule of what you post. Maybe on Mondays you have an engagement question that gets people to chime in, that shows Facebook that your group is actually very active, that people are interested. Maybe Tuesdays it's a Facebook live video or a video. Maybe Wednesdays it's the recipes. Maybe Thursdays it's something about exercise or movement, or maybe it's about meditation. Maybe you call, Fridays, fun Fridays, and have people post something fun about what they're about to do on the weekend. So you want to think about what is the structure of your weekly Facebook content in the group. How do you want to structure it? And again, you're probably a member of many different Facebook groups, so look around of what other people are doing in terms of scheduling content, and then batch produce the content and have a virtual assistant post this into the group. Now, it's perfectly fine to repost certain content. You don't have to forever create brand new content. Maybe you're saying it's like, I have content that I purchased or created from a while back, and that's what I'm using. And then every 10 weeks, every 3 months, I'm starting to repost this because frankly, people don't remember what you posted 3 months ago, right? And so reposting is okay, and then repurposing is okay too. So maybe you had a webinar an hour-long presentation that you gave, and so now chunking this into smaller chunks and just posting 5-minute snippets from that, that's perfectly fine too. Always think about how you can recycle, repurpose any content that you create, so that your content goes a lot further. Now, in terms of like engagement question, that's sort of like the next thing. After you schedule a content, there's different ways to schedule content. I'm going to show you a couple. You can use the native scheduler in Facebook, so you can schedule all the content for the Facebook group out in advance. And again, this could be something that a virtual assistant does on your behalf, or a social media agency. And then obviously there's tools like Fanpage Robot, Meet Edgar, BuzzFeed. There's so many platforms that allow posting into Facebook groups that you can schedule it. And again, you have one tool then to not only schedule it into your Facebook page, but you can then also schedule it into your Facebook group, etc. And so if I just switch here again to one of the tools that I use, Fanpage Robot. The beautiful thing with Fanpage Robot is that it's not only a tool to schedule things very easily. So for instance, here you can see the scheduler for the group, but it's very easy to repost content. So for instance, here I can go back to something from November 1st, and here is a post about Katra. And so now I can say, okay, I want to repost this. And I say I want to repost this on January 27th at 3:30 p.m. and I'm saving it to a queue. So how long did it take me to schedule a post to a Facebook group? It was 6 seconds, right? So it's very easy in half an hour to essentially map out an entire month of content into in Fanpage Robot for the group. And again, you can do the same thing for your personal page. You can post this to here Instagram, you can post it to Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest. And so this is a tool that makes it very easy to post things. Now, the other thing that I like about Fanpage Robot specifically is that this has this generate content button, and you can now search for content that's already very popular. So you can look here for leaky gut and then click on images. And this tool is now searching the entire internet for the most popular content around leaky gut. So you can see here, this one got 780 likes. This one got 366 likes, 360. So it's very easy to reshare something. So if I wanted to share this, I just click here. This is the content that gets posted. Obviously, this is sponsored by Abbott. So obviously, that's their sneaky way to get this in. But now you can just write a caption. And again, you can say, I want to put hashtags in here, leaky gut, and this tool will actually tell you, is this a good hashtag? Is it very popular? Or should you put other hashtags in here? So if you have popular hashtags, it colors it. Green means good. And again, you can post it to different platforms. You can post it to Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, Pinterest, etc., etc. And so this is why this tool, unlike many others, is really helpful. That it doesn't mean that you have to use. You can easily get content from here that's already popular. So leaky gut diet food list, 30 days of tasty leaky gut recipes. What else? 5 bone broth recipes. So very easy to find content that's relevant. And again, maybe it's your inspiration that you don't want to post how to improve your gut-brain connection, but you can now say, hey, maybe I should do a Facebook Live video, and I'm going to talk about how to improve your gut-brain connection. And then it says, number 1, heal your gut is so important. And then you can paraphrase, simulate the vagus nerve. Why is that important? So again, this tool gives you a lot of ways to do research and find out what's already popular, rather than being on Google and trying to figure out what you use. Anti-inflammatory gut health smoothie. There's so many things that you can pull out here. 6 foods to mend a leaky gut healing. So it gives you lots of ideas to either post outright, create your own infographics, or have inspiration for your own Facebook lives and videos. And again, I want you to respect everything. Everybody's intellectual property, so don't just copy it and lift it, put your own spin on it, but you're all smart enough to sort of like put your own spin on it if you sort of have the idea of what you need to do. So that's really what, when it comes to content. The other thing, I talked about engagement questions, and so for me, whenever I'm surfing the internet, I'm always saving things um, from other people's news feeds. So for instance, here I have a whole folder where I save engagement questions. So what are the questions that people ask in their Facebook group that get a lot of responses? And so for instance, here, have you ever felt burned out? What is one way that you relax? Think about this. Do we have a sugar problem? So you can see here these types of questions. Have you ever felt burned out? 13 comments. What is one way that you relax? 33 comments. We're looking here. This is from David Bennett. Think about this. Do we have a problem with sugar? Question mark. That may be the engagement question. And again, put this out there, right? So as you watching the internet, there's lots of people that ask questions to generate engagement in the group. And so this is one of the things that you need to be aware of. Think about if on Mondays you're asking a question, what's the question that people will answer? How do you recharge on the weekends to get ready for a killer week? What are 3 things you are grateful for this week? Hey guys, what's the number 1 thing you love about your health? What are you working on this weekend? So, make a list of these engagement questions. Um, if your business was a book, what would it be? So pay attention to what other people in your community in healthcare are doing online, and then build this. Again, if your business was a book, what would it be? Maybe you want to rephrase this. If your health was a book, what would it be? Right? So think, use this as inspiration, and then go from there in terms of what you want to do in terms of engagement. And just sort of give you an example, for something that I do for engagement in a group, polls are another feature that you can do, right? I asked here, what's the biggest content marketing pain points for your practice? So in your case, it could be, what's the biggest pain point when it comes to weight loss? And then put a couple questions in there and get people to chime in. Again, Facebook takes this as a measure that there's engagement in the group. Or you can ask questions like this. As I said, do you currently have a VA that schedules your social media content and newsletters? Why yes and no. You see here 65 comments, people saying no, no, yes, yes, etc. Right? So that's how you create engagement in a group, that when Facebook sees that 65 people have commented, it will show that post to more people in the group. And so this is how more people engaging it, and then Facebook realizes, oh, there's engagement in a group, so this group must be important. So let's showcase that group, or show more of the content to people that are in the group. So that's in terms of what you need to know for engagement. And so we talked about scheduling, different tools. The next part of running a group is really welcoming group members. What I would say there is that every time somebody joins the group, like you saw, there were 2 people that joined the group. What you should be doing inside the group, having a welcome post saying, hey, let's welcome our newest group members, introduce yourself with a short 3-liner and your superpower. And then people are introducing themselves in the group, so other members in the group see that the group is constantly growing, that other people find your group valuable, and so that's a form of social proof. The other thing I would say is welcoming group members should also go beyond this. So send the person that you just admitted into a group a Facebook message and saying, hey, Jennifer, thank you so much for joining my group. Here's a short video how you get the most out of our group. And then you can show them a video how they can turn on notifications in your group, that they should participate in the group, that you reinforce the spirit of the group, that you want people to ask questions, to be positive, to be encouraging of each other. So another way to engage people, that you not just add them to the group, but you have that personal touch by sending them a Facebook message. And again, this is something that a virtual assistant can do for you. Again, it doesn't take rocket science or you to be the one that personally Facebook messages all the people that join, but it could be a virtual assistant whose role is to admit people into your group and then also welcoming that way. And then lastly, big part of running your group is moderating your group. And so part of it is going through the member requests. You want to really make sure that the people are joining your group are really on point with your philosophy of what you want the group to be. So if it's a women only group, then only admit women, right? Don't admit men. If this group is about weight loss, then people should really be interested in weight loss and not just about something else. So you want to sort of make sure that you're curating an audience of like-minded people on a similar journey and not just admit anyone. And then obviously you want to moderate comments. So if you see spammers in the group that are posting links to other platforms, that are trying to poach people, that are trying to direct people to affiliate offers, I personally have a zero tolerance policy. It was in the group rules that no promotional posting allowed. If you violate this and you post an affiliate link, I'm going to just delete you from the group and that's it. So Facebook wants group admins and group moderators to really police the group. They don't want a free-for-all where it's spammy, where it's a toxic environment. That's already happening elsewhere on Facebook. So Facebook groups should be really tightly moderated. And that is a big part of when you have an old group that you haven't really nurtured in a while. The first part is really go through the group and prune out all the comments that are spammy. Remove people that spam the group. Clean it up, reestablish the rules, put new content in there, and then start from there. So let me know in the comments if this is helpful, if there are very specific questions that you have. Now that we talked about running your group, let's move into the next section about growing your group. And there's really a number of things that I want to list here. Obviously, we already talked about organic search. And organic search is just making sure that your group name matches what people are already searching on Google, on YouTube, etc. There's an example from Dr. Rajka Milanovic. She had an arcane group name before, and then she talked about what people really want: rebalancing hormones, reducing stress and anxiety, and losing weight. And she created a group title around this, and now people are joining the group because they understand why they should join the group. So the next thing is organic social media post that you could put in on your Facebook page, on your Instagram profile, could be on Twitter. And here's an example of somebody that has an organic post. This is from a group called Meditation Techniques. And so the person created a Facebook page that has the same name, Meditation Techniques. And so now it appears as if the group is posting this, but obviously it's a page, and it's saying, hey, want to learn more about meditation techniques? Have questions about your practice? Are you concerned if you are doing it right? We have a small community to answer all your questions. Go here right now and join us. It's absolutely free, and then there's the URL. So this is right now, what you can post organically. And when you post things organically like this, then you can put a link to a Facebook group in there. People click the link and then just join. So you can use this outline. Want to learn more about natural weight loss? Have questions about how to lose weight naturally? Are you concerned if you are doing it right? We have a small community to answer all your questions. Go here right now and join us, right? Just use this and then post it. Again, you can have other organic social media content and you talk about something and you can say, hey, we have great videos that go much deeper on this topic. Simply join our Facebook group and to access this. Or you can put the link to that specific video in a post, and then when people click the link and they're not in the group, yet they will be asked to join the group first. So that's organic social media posting. Obviously, if you have an email list, you can email your list, hey, I'm starting a new 5-day challenge. If you want to join me, here's the Facebook group, and send them there. Obviously, when you're on podcasts or media appearances, you may decide that rather than sending them to your website, you can say, I have a super vibrant Facebook group where we talk about all things weight loss, hormone rebalancing, and combating anxiety. It's at and then you can give them the address. Go to Facebook and search for your group name. So that's another way. And remember, that's equally effective in collecting people's email addresses, because when they're joining the Facebook group, you're asking for their email address, right? So you have their email address. You can now put them on your email autoresponder. You can send them content. So that's probably a much better call to action than telling people go to my website and they're not doing anything with it, right? So joining a Facebook group, there is this idea of FOMO, fear of missing out. What are all these other people learning that I don't know, and how can I tap into this? And so the motivation to join a group is probably much bigger than people going on your website and then taking action from there. Again, I mentioned Facebook, 5-day challenges, and I want to give you an example what that can look like in terms of growing your Facebook group. So in this particular case, Sachin Patel and his wife Deepa were running a 5-pound challenge. And so what they created is a landing page like this, where they have a provocative question, a promise. They give them a couple bullets, and then they collect people's email and first name, and add them to the group. So this is another way that you can send people from Facebook, from an organic post, to this landing page. People put their information in there, so now they're in your email autoresponder. And then once you're opted in, on the next page, there's a welcome video and a button, and you click the button, and from that button, you now join in the group. So in this case, you don't have to manually collect the email in the Facebook group and then manually have a software like Group Funnels to put them into your email autoresponder. Here, they're going first in your email autoresponder, and then on the thank you page, you're putting them into the Facebook group. And so then, for this Facebook 5-day Facebook challenge, all the content happens in the group, and these are very popular ways to grow your challenge. So some people do, obviously a 5-pound challenge. Sometimes it's a anxiety challenge. It's like all these other things, no sugar challenge. So there's all these different challenges that you can think of. And again, I encourage you to pay attention what other people are doing. Be curious on Facebook. Just type the word challenge in there and then see what comes up. So again, if we're doing keyword research and you just type in challenge and then type in group, you're seeing gazillion things. 5-pound challenge, 5 days to radical health change challenge, lose pain and pounds challenge, the 7-day writing challenge. So put keywords in there and then see what comes up. And there's more than enough ideas for running 5-day challenge to grow your groups. So other ways to grow your groups is through interviews. So you may have a guest expert that is a featured Facebook Live expert, and so you can see Tara Scott. She posts on all her social media, on her Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, etc. Hop on Facebook Live with us tonight in our private Facebook group. Link to join us in our bio, and then we will discuss skin as it relates to hormones, and we'll also discuss peptides. So it's an internal ad, and it's like social media that drives people to the Facebook group. So again, if you click the link in the bio, you can see here there's Tara's link tree, and again you can see here she's featuring her private Facebook group and making it very easy for people to join her group. So that's all ways to grow a group. Again, another way is case studies. So here's my colleague Jarek McDonald, and he's very active in the weight loss space as well. And so what he's doing is he's constantly posting interviews with people that have gone through his program. It's essentially a testimonial session. You can see it's 32 minutes long. And if you watch any of his videos, at the end, he's always asking them, hey, if you want to be just like Victoria and lose 25 pounds in less than 60 days, then join us here, and then sends people to a landing page, to a program, to a challenge, etc. And that's how you can fill this too. Again, in his case, it's a paid program, but this works very well too. You interview an expert just like Tara Scott did, and then post this. And at the end of these expert interviews, you can say, hey, for more detailed information, join our Facebook group. And so these are all ways that you can grow your Facebook group. There's a couple other ways that you can grow your Facebook group that are more along the lines of Facebook ads to join a group. So you saw already one paradigm that you send an ad that sends people to a 5-day challenge landing page. Then they go to a thank you page and then they join a group. Or you can run a Facebook post like this. And unfortunately, you can't boost posts that mention a Facebook group name in there. So the way around this, perfectly legal, is saying, you know, if you love great keto recipes and you want a place to get your keto questions answered, join our group. It's free and it's fun. See the link in the comments. So again, you can create a very attractive pictures of, let's say in this case, it was a decadent cheesecake. People look at what's going on with the cheesecake and then they're saying, hey, did you know this is a keto approved cheesecake? Join our group. And so then when the ad is running, then you just go in and put in the first comment the link to the Facebook group, and that's how people can find it as well. If you have ever tried to boost a post that had in the actual post facebook.com/groups, Facebook will say, oh, you can't run this because you're trying to promote a group with paid ads. So, that may come in the future, but right now, this is how you grow the group. I mentioned already guest interviews. The next section is really about enrolling group members into your practice. And, based on the panel discussion that we had last week with Dr. Laura Selye, Tara Scott, Raika Milanove, David Bennett, and Buddy Tushinsky, what really became really apparent is when you put great content out there, when you provide a safe space for people to explore the topic at hand, there's a natural conversation flow about your services that eventually somebody is asking a question, and then you can either choose to publicly elaborate on this in comments so everyone can see it, or you can take it privately into Facebook comments and then follow up with people that way. And so, there's certainly a way to instigate conversation here and start conversations. So, the example that I want to show you here is really, you mentioned that I mentioned here that I have all this engagement here from these different practitioners, right? So what I can now do is when people vote here, this is a problem, I can see who were the people that voted, and then I can message them and saying, hey, Michael, I saw that you had questions about doing this. What's on your mind? So you can follow up with these people because you know what their issue is, right? I also mentioned here that we had the part about, let me go back here. I asked the questions, would you be interested in done-for-you service that includes social media content and scheduling, paid ad traffic, and this? And so now you see 29 comments. So there's some people saying yes. So what I can do now is I can go to Keegan, click message and saying, hey, Keegan, I noticed that you were interested in this. What is it exactly that you're doing right now, etc. So you can start conversation one-on-one with people based on how they're commenting, right? And this is why you see so many people post engagement questions, so that based on the responses that people have, you can then follow up with them. If you see what's the biggest win this week, and then people say, I managed to lose 4 pounds, and then you can privately comment them on Facebook Messenger saying, that's amazing. What's your goal? How far do you want to go? And so then you can start these private conversations. Very simple. And again, if you give, this is probably something that you as the lead practitioner have to do, but if somebody on your team is scheduling the questions, that's how you can create engagement in your group, and you can start these conversation. And it's these micro communications, these micro chats that ultimately lead patients to be comfortable enough to saying, you know what, I've been in a group a while, I had this specific question. And then you can say, well, this sounds more like a medical question. Maybe that's best answered in the context of a free discovery call. Here's the link to schedule, right? So when the time is right and when people ask for your service and ask sort of more leading medical questions, that's the time when you drop the link to either your discovery call application form. It's where you drop a link to your appointment scheduler, however people get on a call with you. And so this is really key to understand that it's not enough to just post in a group and ask question, but it's the Facebook Messenger follow-up to start generating conversation, make people understand that you care about them, and it doesn't have to take a lot of time. When I do this, I probably do 100 or 150 Facebook messages a day to different people, just following up. And it's just a quick one-liner. I'm thinking probably 3, 4, 5 seconds about it, post it, and then move on to the next person. So it's really just about small touch points over time. The person may not see it the same day. They may come back to it next day. Some people don't respond ever. And so again, you can have a virtual assistant reach out to people in your group. For instance, you can say, click on the members in the group, and then, your virtual assistant says, okay, click on the person, message, send them a message. And you can give them sort of a generic message that you just cycle through. And every month, your virtual assistant messages all the people in the group a question. Some people are responding, and then you would be the one that deals with the responses. That wouldn't be your virtual assistant. But again, these are the type of conversation that help you create connection in the group, that people feel a bond with you. And if you're smart about it, it doesn't have to take a lot of time to do. All right, so moving on here in our presentation, obviously, beyond just the Facebook Messenger outreach, you can also direct group members to lead magnets that ultimately lead into your discovery calls. So, maybe there's a group discussion where you say, hey, I have a PDF guide on this, and then people opt in there. And then on the thank you page, you ask them, hey, if you want to schedule a discovery call, click below. You can do a quiz or an assessment that people fill out. And the end of that assessment, people are asked to schedule a discovery call. Or you can, as I said, drop people straight into a discovery call application and scheduler and get people to connect with you that way. So, we have built out some of these things. So, for instance, here is where we built out a stress program page. And one of the things that we're asking people here is to take the free stress assessment. So again, once you have a stress assessment, this is built out in Practice Better. You could just, put this in the Facebook group, say, hey, who has stress here? Do you want to know what the 4 key stressors are that rule your life? I put together a free assessment to help you understand how this goes. People fill this out. At the end of it, you collect their first name, last name, phone number, and send them to a thank you page. And then you welcome them. Hey, thank you so much for filling out the assessment. My team will review it and then get back to you and schedule a time to discuss the implications of the assessment. But if you want to fast track this, just scroll below, pick a date on my calendar, and we can talk for 15 minutes about your assessment and what are some of the things that you could be doing, right? And so again, very simple way to get people into a discovery call by first moving them through an assessment or a quiz. Here's another example from one of our clients here, Casey Tramp. She has a menopause quiz, and then people, filling this out, going through this part here. You can fill this out. This is on her website and is HIPAA compliant. Then she collects the name and email, and then essentially has a landing page that's very similar to this, where she welcomes people and then offers people the opportunity to immediately schedule a discovery call. So very powerful to grow your discovery calls and generate this from the group. And part of it is just really filling the group with a combination of these different techniques. Some of them may be free, that you really talk about just natural conversations. Some of them are, paid, using paid Facebook ads, being on podcasts, media appearances, maybe running a challenge. And so ultimately, all of these things are forking people into your group that you can build a tribe. And if you have 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people in the group, at that point, you will generate enough interest for discovery calls that is really the nurturing environment that then allows you to nurture a lot of people at the same time. And again, going back to what we talked about at the very beginning, it's really important that you provide that group environment, that you see other people chiming in, and it's not just a lonely experience where you're getting my emails, I keep sending you stuff, but you don't have time to read the emails, versus being on Facebook and exploring that content in an altogether different environment. And then lastly, you know, uh, how do you stay in Facebook compliance? Obviously, there's a lot of things that Facebook does that may be questionable. So first thing is really to read Facebook's terms of service and advertising guidelines to know exactly what Facebook is permitting, what goes and what doesn't go. And I want to point you to a resource from Facebook called Facebook Blueprint. If you just Google that, or you go to facebook.com/business/learn, Facebook has essentially put together a training program how to operate in Facebook, how you can run ads, how you run groups, etc. And this is the rules of the roads that once you complete this Facebook Blueprint course, you get a special certification and a special access to people in the Facebook ads landscape. So if your ad account ever gets shut down, you can pull your magic get out of jail card, your Facebook Blueprint certification. And because you're certified, Facebook will then provide more advanced help, will help you get your Facebook ad account reinstated. You have access to a special Facebook chat support. And so again, for that reason alone, that you have a lifeline to a human being at Facebook is probably worth going through this. You will learn something. At the same time, you get that certification. So that's in terms of like what you can do to do more training. And then ultimately, Facebook wants you to moderate your group very tightly, keep spammers out, and really run a very clean ship there. And from personally, what I would say is refrain from making medical claims, promising cures, making extreme statements. That's usually raising eyebrows at Facebook. So I think it was Lara Celia that said, keep it health coachy, be helpful, have educational content, don't diagnose and prescribe. They're not your patients, they're just prospects. So you want to keep this really at the level of basic fundamental principles. Again, remember, they don't know what functional medicine is likely. They have probably not heard about all the interplay between nutrition, detoxification, movement, meditation, etc. And so you could be the person that brings it to them. And then again, as people ask really specific medical questions, you can always refer back to this saying, hey, this sounds like a really specific medical questions. This is certainly not the right forum for this. So I invite you to schedule a free discovery call to go more specific on your questions. And so this is really where you draw the line between being helpful and talking about general principles and going crossing the line and essentially diagnosing and prescribing on the internet to with people that you don't really know. And so you should refrain from this. And at the same point I want to make here, think twice about very controversial topics. When we talk about anti-vaccine, when we talk COVID, in the initial stages, what happened to people that really challenge the narrative. And again, that's obviously one of the knocks on Facebook, that you are on a rented platform. So Facebook makes the rules. And so in exchange for giving you an audience to build off and, nurture and ultimately turn into patients, you essentially benefit from Facebook curating that audience. Facebook says at the very least, here's what you can talk about and can't talk about it. Unfortunately, with healthcare, they never really tell you this. But I think, if you have questions about it, then trust your gut and maybe refrain from posting it or talk about it in certain ways that you're not raising eyebrows and do it that way. Thanks, everyone. See you next time.